Sometimes the quietest person in a family is not the most distant. Sometimes they're simply the most full of responsibilities, full of emotional tension, full of conversations they never had the energy to finish. And when someone is carrying that much internally, silence can start to look like personality, when really it's emotional capacity. We often misunderstand quietness. When someone becomes quiet over time, people reach for a personality explanation. She's become distant. She doesn't engage anymore. She has changed. They assume the quiet person is shy, antisocial, or emotionally withdrawn. But silence isn't always personality. Sometimes it's capacity, emotional capacity. The amount of psychological space a person has left after managing the invisible demands of their life. In psychology, we talk a lot about cognitive load. The idea that the brain has finite amount of processing space. When that space fills up, performance drops. Decision making becomes harder. Memory becomes less reliable. Emotional load works the same way, but it's far less talked about and far less visible. Cognitive load is about how much information the mind is processing. Emotional load is about how much the heart is quietly managing. It's the weight of unresolved conflict you're still holding days later. It's the low hum of financial worry that never fully goes quiet. It's the mental energy of caring for someone, anticipating their needs, absorbing their stress, making decisions that affect more than just yourself. Emotional load doesn't require a dramatic event to become heavy. It accumulates slowly, often invisibly. And unlike tasks on a to-do list, it doesn't get checked off. It just continues, carried in the background of everything else you do. Some people are quietly carrying complex home dynamics, unresolved conflict, family responsibilities, health worries, financial pressure, or the ongoing weight of holding space for other people's pain. When someone is managing all of that internally, something subtle happens. The emotional energy becomes allocated elsewhere. Not always in ways others can see, but consistently, quietly inside. And when the mind is full and the heart is tired, people speak less. Not because they have nothing to say, but because their emotional bandwidth is already being used somewhere else. Each of us has a psychological bandwidth, a finite amount of emotional energy available on any given day. And that energy gets used whether we realize it or not. It gets used managing conflict, even when we don't speak about it. It gets used worrying about money, health, or the people we love. It gets used navigating family dynamics, holding space for others, making decisions that carry weight. And here's the thing about emotional energy. It doesn't announce when it's running low. There's no warning light. No notification that says 10% remaining. Please reduce social engagement. What happens instead is much subtler. You start replying to messages more slowly. You stop initiating conversations. You sit in rooms with people you love and feel present enough. You are there, you are functioning, but something underneath has gone quiet. Not because you stopped caring, but because you've already used everything you have somewhere else. Sometimes you can see this in small everyday ways. The person who reads the family group chat but doesn't always reply. The person who means to call someone back but the day becomes heavy and it never happens. The person who still cares deeply but struggles to find the energy to maintain all the connections. From the outside, it looks like distance. Internally, it can feel very different. Simply means that life close to home is already requiring everything they have. This dynamic becomes most visible in families. Someone who used to call regularly stops reaching out. Someone who used to organize gatherings pulls back. Someone who used to hold everyone together goes quiet. And families notice. But instead of wondering what might be happening in that person's life, people sometimes interpret the silence personally. She doesn't make an effort anymore. She never replies. She has changed. But often the story is more complicated. Sometimes the quietest person in the family is simply the one carrying the most behind the scenes. I've thought about this in my own life. There have been periods where, from the outside, everything looked normal. I could sit in a room with people, have conversations, laugh, be present. But internally, I was already carrying a lot. Emotional tension, responsibilities, situations without easy solutions. And when you live inside that kind of emotional environment every day, something subtle happens. Your capacity for outward connection becomes smaller. Not because you don't value people, not because you don't care about extended family or friends, but because your mind is already working overtime, just managing what's happening close to you. So sometimes silence isn't about personality. Sometimes it's simply about protecting the little emotional energy you have left. When emotional capacity is stretched for long periods, the nervous system begins to protect itself. One of the ways it does that is by reducing emotional optional engagement. People stop initiating as much. They stop explaining themselves. They stop participating in dynamics that require energy they no longer have. And not because they don't care, but because survival requires choosing carefully where your energy goes. Sometimes the quiet person isn't withdrawing from love. They are withdrawing from emotional overload. And this is an important distinction. Silence does not always mean lack of care. Sometimes it simply means lack of capacity. A person can care deeply about family, friendships, and relationships, and still not have the emotional space to maintain constant engagement, especially when their immediate environment already requires significant emotional management. When that silence is misunderstood, the quiet person ends up feeling judged for something that is actually a form of self-preservation. Sometimes the person who speaks the least is not the one who has the least to say. They may simply be the one holding the most internally, the most tension, the most responsibility, the most unsaid things. And silence in those moments becomes less about personality and more about protecting what little energy remains. So the next time you notice someone becoming quieter, especially in families or long-standing relationships, it may be worth pausing before you interpret it personally. Silence isn't always withdrawal. Sometimes it's capacity. Sometimes it's protection. And sometimes it's survival. Have you ever noticed yourself becoming quiet over time? Not because you stopped caring, but because life simply became heavier. To the ones who've been holding it all, the emotions, the silence, the logistics. If you have grown quieter over time, it may not be because you changed. It may simply be because you've been caring more than most people realize. And here, you can set some of it down.